I'm John, 34, from a small town near Roanoke, Virginia. Been living here for almost a decade, pretty quiet life. Work from home in IT, keep to myself mostly. I've got a dog, an old pickup truck, and a mortgage I've been steadily paying off for 7 years. Life was uneventful until last fall. That's when the new neighbors moved in next door. A couple in their early 40s, Greg and Sandra. At first glance, they seemed normal, friendly, chatty, the kind who bring over cookies when they move in, though I later suspected those were store-bought. We made small talk over the fence, and Greg seemed genuinely interested in my work-from-home setup. Sandra, meanwhile, liked to bring up real estate. Like a lot. Looking back, the red flags were there. They were always talking about opportunities in the housing market, especially in our neighborhood. Said the area was undervalued and about to boom. They casually asked what I thought my house was worth, if I'd ever considered moving, etc. I just assumed they were chatty or maybe trying to flip houses. I didn't think much of it. Then one Saturday in late October, Greg invited me over for beers in his garage. It was a chill evening. We talked about football, tools, general guy stuff. Then out of nowhere, he says, "You know, I've got a buddy who's looking to sell his place cheap, just across town. Needs a bit of work, but the bones are good. Could be a good flip, or even a better place for you, honestly. Bigger yard, quieter street." I shrugged it off at first. I liked my house just fine. But Greg kept pressing, said he could arrange a private deal. No agents, no bidding war. Sandra even printed out photos of the house and left them in my mailbox the next day. That's when it started to feel off. The photos looked professionally done, which was odd for an off-market deal. And when I looked up the address online, there wasn't much information, just a few blurry records and no recent sale history. Something about the deal just felt too clean. Still, I decided to check the place out. Greg insisted on driving me there himself. The house looked nice from the outside, 1970s ranch style, fresh paint, clean yard. But the interior was locked up tight. He said the seller wasn't around, but that he had permission to show me the outside. I asked for more info about the seller, and Greg said it was a guy named Tony, a contractor who was moving out of state. No last name, no phone number. Just, trust me, it's a great deal. But you'll need to act quick. The pressure made me suspicious. I told Greg I'd think about it, and left it at that. That night, I started doing some digging. I looked up the address again, this time using property records from the Virginia government site. What I found chilled me. The house was currently under legal dispute between two heirs in a family estate battle. It had no clear title. Worse, it had a lien from a contractor who hadn't been paid for renovations nearly 2 years ago. If someone tried to buy it now, they'd be stepping into a legal mess. At this point, I knew something was wrong. Either Greg didn't know what he was talking about, or he knew exactly what he was doing. And based on what came next, yeah, he knew. So now I knew the house Greg was trying to push on me was a legal landmine. A property dispute, unpaid contractor liens, no clear title. Basically, anyone who tried to buy it would be throwing money into a black hole. At first, I thought maybe Greg was just naive or trying to play middleman in a shady deal he didn't fully understand. But I was wrong. A few days after my tour of the property, Sandra stopped by with a smile and a small binder. "Thought I'd help you out," she said. Inside were documents, real-looking documents, about the house. Property estimates, a sale agreement, and signed, and even a letter that looked like it came from a lawyer's office. The problem? It was all fake. I compared the supposed legal letter with a real one I'd received from my mortgage company months back. Fonts didn't match. The letterhead looked off. I called the law firm listed on the letter, pretending to be someone verifying correspondence. The woman on the phone politely told me they had never handled any property with that address. Now I was pissed. So I played dumb. I thanked Sandra and told her, "I'm really thinking about it." She seemed pleased and said Greg could draw up a full agreement as early as next week. It was clear now. They thought I was some gullible single guy they could rope into a scam. Probably figured I didn't have a lawyer, wouldn't check public records, and would just fall for a cheap private deal. I decided to dig deeper. I have a buddy from college, Marcus, who works in real estate law out in Richmond. I shot him a message and sent over the fake paperwork Sandra had given me. His reply was immediate. "John, this is fraud. You could go to jail just signing some of this crap. Someone's trying to pin liability on you." That's when it clicked. They weren't just trying to sell me a messy house. They were trying to offload a property that was stuck in a legal nightmare. If they could get someone else to buy it under false pretenses, they could blame the buyer later when the legal stuff surfaced. Worse, the documents made it look like I had initiated the interest. Like I was the one who pushed for the deal, not them. A paper trail was forming, and I was starting to see how smart and dangerous these neighbors really were. So I turned the game around. I set up a fake Gmail address and posed as Tony, the supposed seller. I sent Greg an email saying I had some concerns about the buyer, me, and asked to review the details of what Greg and Sandra were telling him. Greg took the bait and forwarded my earlier texts, notes, and even screenshots of our conversations. He also accidentally sent me a document draft, with my name typed in, along with a forged signature at the bottom. A signature I never gave. I now had hard evidence. They were forging legal documents. They were using fake seller identities. They were trying to stick me with a house under dispute. And they had a whole paper trail built to make it look like I volunteered. I saved everything. Screenshots, emails, copies of the documents. Then I went quiet for a few days. No more calls, no replies to Greg or Sandra. I wanted them to wonder what I was doing. And what I was doing was talking to the county sheriff and a real estate fraud investigator. The moment I walked into the sheriff's office with the documents, I could tell the deputy on duty was taking me seriously. I had neatly printed copies of everything. Emails, the fake legal letter, the forged sale agreement with my name on it, and the records showing the house was in legal dispute. I even brought a flash drive with all the digital files. After about 30 minutes of explaining, the sheriff himself came in. We've had complaints about property fraud in this area before, he told me. But this is the first time someone brought us a folder like this. That's when things started moving fast. A week later, I was asked to wear a wire. Yeah, a real one. The investigator wanted me to meet Greg and act like I was finally ready to close the deal. The idea was to get Greg on record explaining the process, hopefully getting him to admit that the house wasn't actually his to sell, or worse, that he had forged the documents himself. I was nervous, but I agreed. We met in his garage again. Same setup as before. Beer, music low in the background, Greg acting like nothing was wrong. I casually brought up the house, said I was ready to move forward, but had a few last-minute concerns. Greg leaned back and said, "Look, man, I told you. This stuff can't all be by the book. It's a clean deal if nobody asks too many questions. You're just walking into equity." Bingo. I nudged a bit further, pretending to hesitate. He doubled down. "I got the paperwork handled. You don't need to worry about titles and lawyers. We'll just file it through Tony's guy. It's just a signature. You sign, pay cash, and it's yours. Everything else, noise." He had no idea he was being recorded. By the end of that week, warrants were issued. Turns out, Greg and Sandra weren't just targeting me. They had tried a similar stunt with another neighbor 2 months earlier. The guy had backed out after seeing the place, but hadn't reported anything. My evidence gave the authorities what they needed. Police executed a search warrant on their home. They found multiple fake property listings, forged title documents, and even templates for seller letters supposedly from lawyers. They also found that Tony didn't exist. It was an alias Greg had used before, tied to a burner email and a prepaid phone. Sandra cracked first. She admitted they'd been trying to push the property on as someone naive, take the money in cash, and vanish before the legal storm hit. Their plan? Flee to Florida and start fresh under new names. They'd done something similar on a smaller scale years back in Georgia, just never got caught. But this time they did. Greg and Sandra were arrested and charged with multiple counts of fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit real estate fraud. The case is still ongoing, but last I heard, they're both facing serious time. As for me, I've got a solid relationship now with the local sheriff's office. Even got a handwritten thank you letter from the fraud division. I didn't press civil charges. Honestly, I just wanted them gone. And they are. I appreciate you watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content.